24-year-old Zara is exhausted from her job as the personal assistant to Hollywood star Chris Cole, who is self-centered and demanding. Chris has a habit of gifting diamond earrings to women he dates just before he breaks up with them, and it's always Zara who has to clean up the mess afterward. Zara believed Chris was preparing her to eventually run his company. One day, Chris asks Zara to be at his place by 8:30 a.m. When she doesn't show up on time, she was actually meeting her friend Stella, a writer, to ask her to rewrite the script for the third movie in Chris's franchise, Icarus Rush. Chris gets angry and locks her out of his house. Fed up, Zara decides to quit, telling Chris she's the only one who truly cares about his career, while Hollywood agents only see him as a money maker. Chris snaps back that Zara lacks real production experience. Soon after, Chris shows up at Zara's home with an unexpected offer, an assistant producer role. During this visit, he also meets Brooke Harwood, a writer who had put her career on hold for 10 years to raise her daughter and is now ready to focus on her own interests again. Meeting Chris changes Brooke's life in surprising ways. When Chris and Brooke met for the first time, there was an immediate connection. Chris, eager to convince Zara to work for him again, showed up at her house, where he met Brooke. Though adored by fans, Chris had no real friends, and he found himself surprisingly comfortable around Brooke. With her, he was just himself, not the Hollywood star, and their conversation ranged over many topics. Brooke's insights about the world fascinated him. After sharing a few shots of tequila, Chris and Brooke ended up kissing. For Brooke, it was a reminder of how much she missed affection. They eventually made their way to Brooke's bedroom, where Zara found them when she returned home. Shocked to see her mother in bed with her boss, who was also 16 years younger, Zara fainted and had to be taken to the doctor. After she recovered, Zara demanded that Chris stay away from her mother. Chris agreed, on one condition: Zara had to join him on set as an associate producer. Zara thought her mother's fling with Chris would quickly fizzle out, but Brooke and Chris couldn't seem to stay away from each other. They didn't want to hurt Zara, but they were drawn together. Chris invited Brooke to dinner to discuss everything, which quickly turned romantic. Brooke was charmed when Chris quoted a line from her book. When she got home, she told Zara only that she'd had dinner with Chris, keeping the rest to herself out of fear of Zara's reaction. Brooke sought advice from her mother-in-law, Layla, who was once her editor, and, encouraged by her, decided to give her relationship with Chris a real chance. Though Brooke knew it might be temporary, she was ready to enjoy it without worrying about where it might lead. Meanwhile, Chris and the director decided to hire a different writer for the Icarus Rush script rewrite, passing on Zara's friend Stella. Later, Zara was surprised to discover the new writer was her mother, Brooke, when she spotted the script on her nightstand. Eventually, Zara uncovered the truth about Brooke and Chris's ongoing relationship. Zara openly disapproved of her mother's relationship with Chris. It was the first time she'd seen Brooke with anyone since her father's passing, and it was hard for her to accept. She felt betrayed by her mother for being with Chris behind her back. While Brooke had always put Zara's feelings first, she felt it was finally time to prioritize her own happiness now that Zara was old enough to be independent. But Zara was convinced Chris would eventually break her mother's heart and urged Brooke to end things before it got worse. Seeing the tension between them, Layla invited Zara to her place for Christmas, also inviting Brooke and Chris. During a private talk with Zara, Layla encouraged her to give Brooke and Chris a chance. She reminded Zara that her mother was more than just a parent, she was a person with her own right to love and happiness. Layla's words helped Zara see Brooke as an individual, and she began to understand her mother's choice. At the Christmas dinner, Chris shared that it was the first time in years he'd been invited to a family gathering, as he didn't have close friends. The holiday brought everyone a little closer, giving Zara a new perspective on her mother's happiness and Chris's place in their lives. Over time, Zara began to accept her mother's relationship with Chris, especially seeing how happy Brooke seemed with him. But her trust in Chris was shaken when she discovered a pair of diamond earrings, the same kind he'd always gifted to his girlfriends before ending things with them. After Christmas, Zara confronted Chris in front of Brooke, reminding him that her mother was truly invested in their relationship. Chris tried to explain, insisting the earrings were a sincere Christmas gift, not a sign he was planning to break up. But when Zara pointed out that he also tended to take his exes to Hollywood Street just before ending things, Brooke felt her doubts surface. Realizing that she might have been mistaken in thinking their relationship was genuine love, Brooke began to wonder if she'd misjudged Chris's intentions. After confronting Chris, Zara began to reflect on her actions and realized she hadn't been considerate of her mother's feelings. She also recognized how self-absorbed she'd become, neglecting her best friend, Eugenie, who had been struggling in her own realmship. Zara had been so wrapped up in her issues that she hadn't noticed Eugenie's pain. When Zara visited Eugenie after the confrontation, Eugenie finally opened up, telling Zara how disappointed she was in her as a friend. On New Year's Eve, Zara knocked on Eugenie's door, apologized sincerely for not being there, and promised to be a better friend from then on. Before leaving her job, Zara decided to have one last conversation with Chris. He was still heartbroken over the breakup and wondered if Brooke hated him. Zara reassured him that Brooke was doing okay and had plans to move to Princeton to teach in the spring. In a moment of honesty, Chris admitted that he had bought the earrings during a brief period when he considered breaking up with Brooke. He explained that he often panicked when things seemed too good and had thought about ending things simply out of fear. But he quickly changed his mind and forgot about the earrings. Now, he just wanted Zara to tell Brooke that he had never intended to leave her, that he'd truly fallen in love with her and missed her deeply. Realizing how much they both cared for each other, Zara decided to help fix things between her mother and Chris before it was too late. Before Brooke left for Princeton, Zara met with her and admitted she hadn't been the best daughter. She realized how much her mother had sacrificed for her and said that the least she could do now was be happy for Brooke. Brooke was touched, glad that Zara finally saw her as more than just her mom. After their heartfelt moment, Zara wondered if Brooke would want to give things with Chris another chance, but Brooke insisted she was done. Determined to help, Zara and Layla came up with a plan to bring Brooke and Chris together, or at least get them talking again. Zara took Chris to the supermarket, while Layla brought Brooke. Neither Brooke nor Chris expected to see each other, but when they did, they were both glad. Zara apologized for interfering in their relationship, and encouraged them to consider giving it another try. A year later, Brooke had released her second book, and Zara had become a producer. Brooke and Chris's relationship was still strong, and as long as they kept the romantic details to themselves, Zara was genuinely happy for them. Thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel.